Hello, everyone, and welcome to Herosner podcast season 3, episode 3. It is October 6th, 2022. We are live on YouTube and Facebook. I'm your host, Vic Nazaryan, and as always, I'm joined by my co host, the talented Mr. Mike Balyan, sitting to my right, where we discuss our great Armenian history covering different eras, topics, and people. How are you, Mr. Balyan?
Fantastic.
Yeah, how was your week?
It's been busy, man.
Yeah.
Really busy. You know how busy it's been.
Yeah, some great things in the works.
Yeah, man.
How about last episode?
That was really cool.
Maps.
I've listened to it twice already, man.
I've watched it. I've listened to it. Well, I edited it, so
that was honestly, I mean, not knocking any one of our guests, but that was one of my favorite
Yeah.
topics to discuss because I'm kind of obsessed with maps, always have been, like geography and whatnot, and that was a good guest to have.
yeah.
I hope everyone else.
Yeah,
enjoyed it
those
as
of
much
you
as we
who
did.
watched our last live episode, please go watch it with Ruben Galician.
Mhm.
He's, we talked about maps, historical map,
Yeah.
from beginning, first map ever that was discovered to, and we covered kind of the situation.
Oldest map.
Yeah, oldest map that's been discovered so
Yes,
far.
yeah.
And Armenia right there.
Yep.
So make sure you go check that out. Please, you're joining us. First of all, thank you for joining us on a late hour. Again, our guest is from Armenia, so he had to wake up early to join us. So that's why we have to do the show
It's
later.
like our version of the
Yeah.
world tour.
Plus, I'm sure everybody put their kids to sleep by now. You know,
After hours. With
after
Med
hours.
Head.
Yep, there we go.
I gotta say it in a deep
Put some
voice.
romantic music in the background. Let's see. Oh, click that like button and share, please, with everybody. Today's topic is repatriation, not reparation. Meg, I'm talking to you.
That was funny.
Yeah. This one isn't gonna be like a history episode, one might say, but because we have this platform, and we'll be doing some episodes with guests where the message should be heard and stories told. We have a special guest joining us tonight, all the way from Armenia, Hayk Nazaryan from Hosang. So we'll bring him on shortly. But before we do that, as always, a few announcements. So apparently, the 2022 fall theme is galas. So we mentioned last week and the week before that there is the No Man Left Behind second annual gala. Will take place Friday, October 14th, 6:30 p.m. at the Tagalian Cultural Complex. We want all of you guys to support this. This is a great cause. Go donate. You'll get a ticket when you donate. Attend. If you can't attend, still donate. For more information on tickets, questions, sponsorship opportunities, go to cftjustice.org or email info@cftjustice.org. The second gala, which we'll be attending to, is the gala by Freedom Loving Youth, also known as FLY. They were on the Wise Nuts on Monday's show, so if you haven't watched it, go watch it on the Wise Nuts, please. Amazing organization. They do some great work. This is their 10th anniversary gala, which will take place Sunday, November 6th at Palladio Banquet Hall in Glendale, California. Donations are only $200 per person, which will be your entry basically to the event. This includes food and drinks. So why is this important? FLY has been helping families who live in poverty in Armenia to get back on their feet for 10 years. I'm talking about basically, people living in broken down containers. Like some of them don't even have bathrooms. They have to go outside, like dig a hole. Kids like with no clothes, wintertime, there's no warmth. They have to burn plastic just to keep that metal oven they have going. It's just a horrible situation. So now what they're doing is with this gala and all the donations, they're building a social educational center in Gyumri, Armenia. So all the donations will go towards this project. You can also sponsor rooms, and you can contact them, and the rooms will basically, once you sponsor that room, you'll have a plaque with your name on it that forever will be imprinted under your name for that room. And the rooms are for like therapy and security and a different thing. They're going to teach like dance, even I think some kind of animation, things like that. So it's a great thing that they're doing. So for more information, you can go to fly.care, or you can call 818-441-4678 to basically give your donation or become a sponsor. So please do that. Actually, let me bring in the picture for our viewers. This is the flyer right here. So there's more information on there. There you go. So yeah, everybody. So please support this. If you are local here in LA, Glendale, Burbank area, try to attend. If you're not local, still donate. Again, this is for a great cause. I think that's pretty much it as far as announcements. Well, we have other things, but we'll keep that for the next episode. So everyone, our guest today is Hayk Nazaryan from, I almost said Gevorg Nazaryan. I'm so used
no
to
relation, guys.
No relation.
Yeah.
Hayk Nazaryan from Hosang. The reason we wanted him to come on the show is because he has a very interesting story. He's someone who's from the diaspora.
We can all relate.
Yeah, we can all relate. Grew up here and just got up and packed and moved to Armenia. And he's had an interesting journey. So we wanted to share this as he basically went back and lives there now. You know, so everyone, please welcome Hayk Nazaryan. Hello, Hayk.
What's up, Mike?
Hello, everybody.
Good.
Thanks
how
for
are you,
having
buddy?
me.
No
Good. How
problem.
are you?
Thanks for waking up, man.
Yeah, it's not a problem. Anytime for you guys.
Oh man, appreciate that. Hayk, I found out about you on Facebook by I think accident, and you know I started following you and learning more about your journey, and I was really impressed with what you've done. And I was trying to figure out how to get you on the show. Obviously, we're known as a historical podcast, but you know sometimes, especially with the situation right now in Armenia and Artsakh, you know we want our platform to be used to get the message across. So I felt this was the right time to have someone like you to talk about what you experienced, the decisions you made, and what you've been living through. Um, so again, first of all, thank you for accepting our invitation and being part of this show.
Thanks for inviting me.
No problem. So first thing I want to ask you is you know let's talk a bit about your let's call it the journey. First, tell us a bit about yourself so our audience can get to know you, where you were born, where did you grow up, studies, etc.
Sure.
Basically.
But first, I'd like to say that what I did this whole journey, it's not really impressive. What's impressive is that people are impressed by it, which people shouldn't be. Just like when they asked Monte Melkonian, why did he come to fight in the war? He responded that, this isn't something that people should be surprised about. It should be surprising that many more people aren't coming. So that's what I wanted to change. I wanted to change the whole narrative on this whole
Yeah.
repatriation. I wanted
Yeah.
people to know that it shouldn't be looked up. It shouldn't be looked at as anything impressive or extraordinary. It should be looked at as something normal. So that was the whole reason. One of the reasons, why I embarked on this whole, moving
Yeah.
back to the homeland
Well,
journey.
you know, impressive in the sense of that, you know, I think a lot of us have this longing to do something like that, but obviously it's not as easy as depending on your life situation.
Yeah.
So the word impressive is more like being proud of what you've done. And hopefully more people will get motivated to do what you did. I think that's where impressive kind of falls on within that bracket.
And well, to be honest, that's one of the reasons why I did it too. I wanted to set an example for
Yeah.
all the other diasporan Armenians who had that in their mind, but didn't, build up the courage, I guess, to make that step. So I wanted to, open
Break the
that path.
ice.
Make the
Of
yeah.
course, I'm not the only repat. There's a lot of other repats that did this way before me. I just, I think I wanted the people who made it more, um, public and just
Yeah,
made
yeah.
it kind of,
And we'll
I don't
get
want to
into
say
that.
trend,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, I wanted that kind of a cool thing to do, I guess you could call it.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
yeah, that's one of the reasons why I did what I did, because people needed to know that it's not only Armenians leaving and emigrating. There's also Armenians that are going and
Yeah,
immigrating to the fatherland.
of course. So why don't you introduce yourself to our audience and tell them, like I said, where you were born,
Yeah,
where you
sure.
grew up, and your studies and what you did before you made the move.
Yeah, well, my parents are from Armenia. They met there, they got married there. My two brothers and my sister were both born and raised in Armenia, and they came to the States in 1988. I was born in 1989. We were one of the first families from the Soviet Union who, moved to Los Angeles, and I was born in the 1989 in Los Angeles. Pretty much didn't. We were living in poverty pretty much during the early 90s, and that time, um, I didn't really know anything about like that much about being Armenian or this or that. I didn't even go to Armenian school, to be honest with you. Like my brothers and my sisters did, but I started to learn Armenian on my own when I was 17. But even before that, uh, my father, who was a political activist in the 1960s and 1970s in the Soviet Union, he was one of the dissidents. He was one of the people fighting for like the independence of Armenia. He also was a political prisoner who did 7 years in Siberia. Yeah, that's another story in itself. But what I'm trying to say is that, yeah, when I was young, he instilled a lot of that patriotism. I guess he put like a lot of patriotic songs, this or that. And but I still never went to Armenian school. But I had that patriotism in me at a young age. But when I turned 13, around 13, 14, that's when everything's just really changed. Like, I guess you could call it, I went red pilled. I started looking at the world a completely different way, and that's when I knew. At that, I don't know how it came in me, but I knew that one day I'm going to move back. I just didn't know when. I didn't know how. I didn't know the ifs or anything.
When you
I
say
just knew that it
something
had to
changed, like
happen.
what do you mean? What clicked?
Yeah, what was the kicker?
Well, I just knew that whenever I started, learning about Armenian history, learning about who I am, my identity, I knew that it doesn't make sense for me to live outside of the fatherland whenever I have a country that I could go back to. That if I'm Armenian, I should live in Armenia.
Yeah.
To me, it was pretty much that simple. It was really like a click in my head. I just didn't know how to do it because I didn't have any friends or family in Armenia. All my relatives moved to California, unfortunately. So um, it was a tough journey. I just didn't know how I was gonna do it, but I knew it was gonna happen sooner or later. So
You
I
had the
just had that
vision.
in my
Yeah.
mind the whole time.
So from that
Yeah,
from that point on, even at that young age, did you consciously take any steps? Like, were you kind of guided by anybody, or did you take this completely on yourself?
yeah. No, nobody. Actually, a lot
Yeah.
of people were against that idea in my family. Yeah, my dad was for it and everything, but
Well, yeah.
yeah, it's just a lot of people. They thought it was crazy. They thought it was stupid. Like, what's the point? But I just knew I had to do it, and uh, so then when I turned 17, I started learning Armenian on my own, reading and writing, and then I actually dropped out of high school. To be honest with you, I got kicked out of one of the high schools. I dropped out, but I went back to college when I was 20 years old. Glendale College. I got accepted, and yeah, uh, 2 years there, and then I transferred to CSUN. I got my physics master's degree in 2015. I also taught there for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, and 1 year at Glendale College as an adjunct professor. So, total of 3 years. But basically, none of that really fulfilled me. And I just knew that
Yeah.
living a life in the United States with a career and everything, it just wasn't for me. I just knew that
Yeah.
I had a calling and I had to, act upon it. That was the game changer for me.
And what did you,
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
as far as like, wait, did he talk about his degree? Like, sorry,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Well, I mean, but touched on it.
Yeah,
But
touched
yeah,
on
yeah.
it. Like,
Talk
what made,
about.
yeah, what made you go into physics, basically?
Well, my dad was a physicist. He graduated Yerevan State University over here. He's also still writing articles and books. He's actually written a new theory called Armenian theory. That's a whole different topic on itself. But yeah, he's still really active with that. And I just the mathematics and physics, the sciences, it really came natural to me. I have a honestly, I still have a love for that. It's just the situation that our country is in politically. I felt like that's something that needs to be addressed before we could address all the other issues. So
Yeah,
that's why I decided to later on, uh, which is right now, to get into politics. But we'll talk about that, I guess, later.
yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, but it was natural to me. So I just did something that it came naturally, and I still like it to this day. If we lived in
Yeah.
a perfect world, I'll probably just be under a tree like Isaac Newton, writing some formulas and stuff.
Careful of those apples, man.
yeah. No,
Careful of those apples.
tirani tsar,
They love
Yeah,
him. I
yeah,
was sticking. I was sticking to
pomegranate
the.
tree. You know?
I was
or
sticking to the
pomegranate.
narrative. You
Yeah,
know. Anyway,
Yeah,
so growing up in the U.S., you assimilated obviously, just like a lot of us. I'm sure a lot of what you're going to tell us about your story, we can all relate to, especially Sputka High and people from abroad, right?
mhm.
What made you? What more or less, let's say post college or let's say college education, what was it that really sprung you into action to go to Armenia? Like, what clicked?
Yeah, well, like I said, the seeds were sown a while back,
Yeah.
and it's just I kept watering it. I kept watering it. I kept watering it, and like I said, right when I graduated, uh, I got my master's degree. I was teaching at community college. I was instructing the labs, and I was just sitting there looking at the students doing the experiments, and I'm like, and I don't know what came into me. Something just moved in me and just said, just get up, leave all this, and go. It was kind of
Was
like a
there,
surreal moment. I don't know what it
but was there
was.
like a specific event or sequence of events or something that might have maybe
That's the th-
sparked that
the
thought?
crazy thing is, and nothing really crazy happened. I just knew that I had to do it. I didn't feel
Yeah,
fulfilled. I knew this wasn't my calling. That's not what I was born to do.
that's
But
crazy.
what was interesting is, so I made that decision in the end of 2015, December of 2015, beginning of 2016. And then 3 months later, I was already packing my stuff and shipping it to some friends I met online on Facebook. I was shipping my belongings to them. And as crazy as that, in April of 2016, the April War started.
Yep.
And at that moment, I thought it was gonna break out into a full scale war. I was actually thinking about just leaving everything and going at that moment. So what was crazy is that I kind of knew something like that was gonna happen. That was one of the reasons why I wanted to move, because I
Hmm.
was uh, following all the news in Armenia. I actually started following all the political stuff in Armenia since 2008. So it was
Yeah.
already 8 years. I was kind of active with the whole military thing. I was watching Zinuj online, the military program,
Hmm.
and all of that stuff. So I kind of foresaw it, like I kind of felt it, and then that event happened. But obviously, it only took 4 days, so I didn't make the move. But I knew that for sure. It was kind of like a signal, it's kind of like a
Yeah. Yeah. It was a
warning
sign,
call.
man.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's when I decided, what, forget this. At first, I thought maybe I would come and then go and do like 2 or 3 times back and forth
yeah,
trip. But right when that April War happened, I'm like, no, it's gonna be a one-way ticket, and I'm out of here. I forgot to also say, but before all that, the only time I visited Armenia was in 2013, my first time. So I wanted to move to Armenia before I even visited it ever. So my first time visiting it was in 2013 for 6 weeks. I just like traveled all over Armenia. I had a really good time. I just that reconfirmed my belief that I had to make the move, because a lot of people were saying, go see it. You're gonna regret it. You're not gonna want to go. But it was the opposite. Even though I saw a lot of things I didn't like, I hated. I just I embraced all of it. The good
Yeah.
and the bad.
Yeah.
And I wrote a letter at that time in 2013 at the airport in Armenia. I wrote a letter again to the diaspora saying about my feelings and everything. That kind of went viral, and I wrote in that letter that very soon I'm gonna come back and never leave again. Something like that.
Um,
Uh, so it's kind of interesting, and I made the flight in 2016, and November of 2016, just like 7 months after the April War.
you wanna tell us about that letter?
Yeah, I was gonna say, can you
Yeah.
elaborate on that
Yeah,
letter
yeah,
a little
yeah.
bit? Like,
I know
what
you
is it?
touched on it with us one time, but not
Yeah,
fully.
sure.
But you want to go ahead and talk about that?
Yeah.
You were
Again, I was
14
just
at the time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
whenever.
When you wrote the letter, you were 14.
Oh, no!
No.
The letter I was talking. It was in 2013. I was
Oh,
24.
2013. Oh,
2013,
2013. Okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
okay.
2013. Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
That's when I visited Armenia the first time. That's when I got my
Okay.
bachelor's degree. Yeah, I got
Okay.
my bachelor's
Right.
degree. I decided to visit Armenia the first time. That's when I decided, for sure,
Yeah.
that it's gonna happen. And then in 2016, the April War happened. I was shipping all my stuff. I had like 20, 30 crates I was shipping. So I sent that all. Yeah, and I made the move. It was kind of honestly the last few weeks I was kind of nervous because I was going to a country where I had no friends, no family, no home.
Yeah.
I don't know how I had money saved up, but not a lot, and just enough to get me a small house, and that's about it. And
No. No.
thank
What?
God I was able to start an online business in 2013, like a tutoring business,
Yeah.
tutoring math online. So that really helped me out. And
Now, Hike, let me ask you that
yeah.
letter. When you wrote that letter, did you have a following on? You mentioned Facebook, right? If memory serves me right, that you wrote that on Facebook
Yeah, but so
or something
there's
like that.
there's
Yeah.
actually two letters. I think you're confusing maybe the other one. This one was in
Yeah.
2013. It
Maybe.
wasn't really. It went viral, but not that one, not that
Okay.
big. But the one I'm talking about, the later on, it was in
Yeah.
2016. I wrote a
Oh
letter.
yeah.
I published it at the airport in LAX. That again, another letter to the diaspora, a
That's
message.
it. That's the one you
Yeah,
mentioned.
that was the one that went really viral to my surprise, and I basically published it in the airport, and I close my laptop. And I go in the plane and I land in Armenia. Actually, sorry, I published it in Doha at the at that airport, and
Yeah.
then I close my laptop and I land in Armenia. My dad had already moved there before me. He went first, and then I came. And when he picked me up, we went to the house. We had an apartment we rented, and then I opened my laptop. I see it went viral, like 4,000 views, and then 4,000 likes, and like 1,000 shares. I had all these like thousands of friend requests, and journalists were calling me to interviews. It was crazy. Like I
Wow.
didn't expect that kind of a reaction, but I guess it spoke to people's hearts, and
Yeah.
people really felt connected to it. So
Yeah.
it was that was pretty much like a turning point, I guess, at that moment in my life.
Yeah. I'm sure you had to act upon that, man. I mean, you had done something that kind of hit home, right?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was an
You
emotional
it
roller
couldn't
coaster.
it couldn't end there, man.
Yeah.
You had to take that flame and keep it going.
So
Yeah, for
you
sure. For sure.
you arrive in Armenia.
Hmm.
You start living there. Especially, let's say, in the beginning, within the first year. Was there like a culture shock, or was it difficult to adapt to the way of life? Were you welcomed by the Armenians living in Armenia? And did you have any regrets with the move?
Or any homesickness,
Yeah.
or homesickness.
Yeah.
Uh, Actually, it wasn't that bad. Yeah, of course there was ups and downs. There was some negative things, but all in all, like I said, I was embracing all of it, the good and the bad. I already knew, to be honest with you, I knew things were gonna get worse before I even made the move. It's not like I made the move thinking that it's all gonna be good. I saw all the craziness going on. I saw the April war that happened when I was in the diaspora. I saw all those uh, unstable political situation, and I could see it from a mile away that the country is headed towards a very bad position because there is no solid political leadership. There is no solidarity in any issue, pretty much. So that was very uh, uh, important for me because that that made me even want to move back more because that showed me that I had to be there during the hard times because just like a true friend is there for a friend
Yeah.
during the hard times, same with the patriot. The true patriot's supposed to be in the country during the hard times, not the good times,
Yeah.
and but yeah, like that's why I went with that type of mindset. That's why I didn't really get disappointed because I already knew kind of what to expect during that time. And it took me 6 months. I got my citizenship, which is interesting. I got my citizenship right on my 28th birthday. It was a interesting coincidence.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was kind of like a birthday present. But all in all, I adapted very quickly and pretty well. I'd say, and the thing is, I talk I talk to people from all walks of life, not just like repats. A lot of repats they come to Armenia, they only hang out with repats and they only stay like in the center of town most of the time. They don't really, uh, you know, enlarge in the circle of
So
like
so there's actually
social
group
things.
of
Mingle in with the locals,
so
huh?
there's
Yeah,
like a
yeah,
group of
I did that
repats
a lot.
like kind of sticking together. It's
Yeah,
almost
yeah,
like a
that's
Well,
segregation happening with
it's like
repats.
I know it's like that with some other major cities because there's I mean I'm not going to get into it, but there were some other major cities I've visited in the past, and you kind
Yeah.
of start going online and reading blogs or whatever the cases of, you know, expats move into like certain countries or certain cities and their experiences,
Yeah.
and you see it when you're walking in a lot of the touristic areas, and then Yerevan's small, you have Kentron, right? So it's like
yeah,
that's
yeah.
where everybody hangs out, right? Walk around and then I mean I don't remember it about Yerevan, but any of the big cities you see like little pockets of Americans, Brits,
Yeah.
whatever. They're always together. They're
No,
not hanging out
but
with
isn't
anybody
that
else.
I feel like that's not really a good thing because,
Of
at
course
the
it's
end of the
not.
day, it's one thing to have Brits and the French and like, hanging out together, but these are end of the day, they're all Armenians. So I get it, birds of a feather
Assimilation,
flock together,
Yeah.
assimilation.
but
Yeah.
still, but I think the new
Mhm.
generation over there is kind of westernized. So in mingling, maybe learning lessons from each other,
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. The first couple times I went after not being there for so long, I think it was like '05, '06. Like it was tough, bro. Like
Yeah,
they
but
Yeah,
could
that's
they
a
could
different
they,
time.
they could I know it was
It was a different
100%. It was
time.
but I mean I was still hanging out with my friends from Yerevan. They were born and raised there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they were there. But again, it still wasn't easy. It was kind of weird, you know?
Yeah.
But I know it's different now. Things
they're more
changed so
accepting now.
much,
Yeah,
bro. Oh yeah,
back
man.
then,
Everything's changed so much now.
back then they probably would have looked at you
Oh, they
weird.
did.
Yeah,
They
but
did.
but now they're definitely more accepting to,
Yeah.
to all that. But I mean, yeah, it's not right, but you could kind of understand those repats because they kind of miss home and they think talking to another repat is their way of connecting to home, where they were born. It's
Yeah.
and a lot of the time is because a lot of Armenians, repats, they don't know actually how to speak Armenian very properly, and that's why they can't really express themselves with locals because they don't know Armenian
That's a
very
good
well.
point.
Yeah.
That's
That's a
why.
good
That's
point.
why they
Yeah.
they, they like to talk to repats in English, so they could express themselves
Yeah.
how they truly feel. I mean, they could talk Armenian. They could talk Armenian like at a C level or something. Just like
Yeah.
enough to get by, enough to like order food and order a taxi or this or that, but not enough to really have a professional conversation with another Armenian. And
Yeah.
that's one of the things I noticed too.
Um, Now, being a patriot yourself, you actually decided to join the service. I know you've talked about that a little bit. What can you tell us about that? You know, you said you trained in, where was it? The Tavush
Avush,
region?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's on the
Um,
eastern side. Yeah,
yeah, you want to talk about that a little bit?
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So I mean, when I first came to Armenia, uh, I like I said, I stayed in this apartment for 3 months, and during that time, I was looking for a house, and I ended up buying a house within like the first month of moving here. I bought a house, a small house, nothing big. That's all I could afford, but it was in a very bad situation. So started remodeling it. That took about like 9 months or so, and during that time, like I said, I became a citizen. And after I was done with the remodeling, I really wanted to get some military experience because I knew what happened in the April War wasn't done. I knew it was gonna burst again, and I wanted to be ready for that. I wanted to have at least some military experience, and already I was 28. I was over the mandatory uh, age
Yeah,
group.
the age
That
limit.
yeah,
Yeah, that's right. It is
yes,
28.
yeah. And I honestly, I didn't really want to serve with like 18-year-olds. I was already 28, so I thought better idea maybe just to become a contract soldier. You're doing the same thing basically. You're still gonna be at the front. You're still gonna be serving. So I signed up for that. I just chose Tavush because it's a. I actually met a friend in uh, from that area, and he
Yeah.
just told me to just come and apply there. So I stayed there. I served there for 6 months. I went in December of 2017 and left June of 2018. Yeah, six
Yeah.
months there, and then 2 months at this base in Yerevan called Nubarashen. I was on the air defense systems, the Igla, with the
Mm-hmm.
simulations and everything. Yeah, so total of 8 months, and then I left. I left because during my service, it was that whole so-called Velvet Revolution thing going on,
Yeah.
and I kind of, that really disappointed me how people were reacting to it in a positive way, which was to me
Yeah.
something negative that was going on.
See, now that you mention that, I mean, were there any what's the word I'm looking for? Like shortcomings or talk about the pros and cons about the whole experience. I mean,
About
both.
the experience, military
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
The goods, the
again, like
bads. I'm sure.
Expectations.
Yeah. I'm sure there was probably all sorts of things coming at you. Talk about some of the
yeah,
highlights of that, man. Highlights, lowlights,
yeah,
whatever it is.
eh, yeah. It's actually it's funny. My first shift at the post,
Yeah.
they came and they interviewed me right in the trenches. They were all surprised, like, "What is this guy doing here?" It was like never heard of, like someone from America, born and raised in America, voluntarily coming and serving. And all the soldiers that I was serving with, they thought I was crazy. They either thought I was crazy. They either thought got deported from America. Like, how the hell could I get deported if I was born and raised in the U.S.?
What a horrible thing to assume, man. Are you kidding me? Seriously, they thought that?
Like the guy is like a drug cartel that got deported.
It's like, so what were you in
Yeah,
for?
Yeah.
yeah.
My
Or
God.
like, what, they thought I was a spy. Yeah, either one of those three. And that
Oh,
is, no matter how many times I explained to them my real intentions, I just for like patriotic reasons, they just couldn't
yeah.
understand that. They go like, "No, like they couldn't understand it. Like,
They
no,
moved the
it's
microphone
like
aside.
it went in one ear and moved out the other. So that was kind
Wow.
of the things that was disappointing. And again, I kind of expected that. It wasn't really shocking to me. It's just I knew deep down inside a lot of them thought that I was stupid too. Like, not just crazy. Like, this guy is stupid. Like, he left
Amerikanin
America.
chest, tore, kelesiste.
Yeah, and like
Yeah.
not only came to Armenia, but came in the muddy trenches. Like with sleepless nights and like the cold trenches. Like, for what? And to them, that just it doesn't register in their
Yeah,
mind.
did it
So
make any sense to him?
Arno just made a good point. U.S. citizen deported to Armenia. Makes sense.
yeah, that
By the
was
way, what's this cat fight happening with
I don't know,
Arno and
you
Armand?
guys,
What's going on,
hey,
guys?
you guys, you keep it
what
together,
happened.
all right?
The wise nut, they're
The
having a cat
wise nut,
fight.
they're all in the chat, and
I
Oh,
they're
think
okay.
They're trying to stir the pot amongst themselves.
Edgar just left for Armenia, so I think their
That's
chemistry
right.
is
Yeah.
imbalanced right now.
Which is bunning.
Yeah, but all in all, that experience was good. I mean, in the sense that I got to see firsthand, the front, the situation. My first time, like staying up 18 hours a day on my feet, like having going from being a physics professor at like Glendale College to being in the
Yeah.
muddy trenches like a year later is kind of like a
Yeah.
drastic change. So
Yeah, well, yeah, I'd say so.
that was a shocking one. The first two shifts, the sleepless, cold nights in the trenches and everything. But it really toughened me up for what was to come later on. So
Yeah.
I don't regret it at all. I just, like I said, I didn't like the mentality. That was one of the reasons why I left early, especially the mentality I saw during that whole so-called Velvet Revolution
But
nonsense.
let me ask you, as far as the training, were you satisfied? Was it up to par from what you've maybe envisioned? Because
or
we
seen here in the U.S. because
movies
Yeah,
or documentaries, whatever. Just how U.S. military, we all know how they
Well, you
train.
can't compare U.S. military to Armenian military because, of course, there's a lot of reasons,
Of
of
course,
course.
yeah,
But
yeah, you can't compare. But
it's
like,
just
was it?
also because U.S. military goes through that kind of rigorous training
Yeah.
because it's an empire and it requires
It
soldiers
is.
to attack, to go on the offensive all the time. And our army, all it's been taught this past 30 years is to be on the defensive and just to hold a gun
Yes.
and defend the post. It never got trained to attack. That's why I didn't get training at all. They just gave me a gun and they gave me the clothes and they sent me off to the front. They didn't even
And that was
they
it.
didn't even show me how to shoot my Beka, the you could call it like the M4 of the Russian army.
Wow.
They didn't
You're
even teach me how to shoot that. They just gave me that big machine gun and said, "Here you go." I learned how to shoot it while I was at the front. I didn't get any
Wow.
training at all,
Whoa.
but I had weapons in the U.S. legally. I was a legal gun owner in
Yeah, so
America.
you had
I had
experience. You had experience with a gun or some gun experience here.
Yeah, I had an AR-15, I had Glock, I had all these shotguns, I had these weapons,
Took
and I used to
took
go to
that
Mojave Desert, yeah,
took
Big Bear
that took
Mountain.
that took that good Second Amendment on a nice
Yeah,
tour, huh?
yeah, of course, of course.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, that was that's one of the things I miss actually, the Second Amendment. But
Well, they
that's
just introduced a new law. Did you see that
Uh,
with the hunting thing?
in
Apparently now
Armenia.
they're encouraging for people to actually start getting their gun license and
I got
uh,
my hunting
really?
gun here. I
yeah,
don't go hunting. I'm not a hunter. I just got the hunting
yeah, and then
my
now you
hunting
can
rifle.
carry up to 10 years by going through special training and stuff.
Oh,
So
Wow.
yeah,
they said they were gonna pass the law. Did it already
they
pass?
passed it. Yeah,
I'm not
that I know.
sure.
I know you woke up like an hour ago, but we already know it passed.
Like it passed today?
Yeah, it passed. It
No
passed.
way! So I could go
Yeah,
buy it.
yeah. There
Okay,
you go.
that's
After
good.
the
That's
show,
good
Hike
news.
is at the store.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go right after. Sounds like a
Yeah.
good idea. But yeah, that was basically no training. It was just that, like I said, the training was dealing with the people, the environment. That was the hard part, and it really toughened me up mentally.
Well, can I ask you a question? It's what was the like some of the soldiers that you got to talk to or be around for how long were you there for? How long did you serve for in that initial
It was
campaign?
6 months. I was two
Okay.
weeks at the front. 2 weeks I came home. Uh,
So there, that's how the
uh,
shifts work.
yeah, two
Worked,
weeks.
let's say.
Yeah, there's
How was the morale with like a lot of the other soldiers that you were around or
No,
associated with?
if I can add to that, when you
Yeah.
say go to the front, are you talking about in Artsakh or
no, the whole Armenian Azerbaijan border is considered a front.
okay?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
I just wanted to cut. They weren't sending you to Artsakh border as far as
I actually
the
went in 2017. I went to Martakert to sign up, and again, they thought I was crazy, and they told me to write a letter. I wrote a letter to the defense ministry in Artsakh, the Bashban Sambanak. I got the rejection letter like 2 weeks later. They said no. So I don't know
Wow.
why, but yeah, I guess. And for some reason, not a lot of contractors are in Artsakh. A lot of them are just in like Tavush, Gegar Kunik, around that area. but not many
It's
in
interesting.
Artsakh. So, and plus, it would have been a problem if I was in Artsakh, because coming and going would have been a headache. I had to like move out there, and it wasn't really convenient for me. So that's why I chose Tavush. But again, I knew that war was gonna break out, and sooner or later I was gonna go to Artsakh. But that's why I didn't really mind serving in
Yeah.
Tavush in
So
a
back
different
to your
region.
question. Sorry, I
Yeah,
didn't mean
yeah. No,
to.
I was just wondering, what's the morale of the soldiers like?
Yeah.
A lot of the people that, let's say, you rubbed elbows with or whatnot throughout that 6 months that you were going in and out, right?
Yeah. Well, look, I could say a lot of negative things, but I
Sure.
know when push came to shove, if like they attacked, we would have done our duty.
Yeah,
The guys who were complaining about serving, who didn't like serving, they would have done their duty too, and I saw that as the most important thing.
yeah,
No matter, I mean, of course, in any army, in any case, there's gonna be people who flee, who won't fight or anything. But I know if something was gonna happen, if something was going to happen, we would have all done what we were supposed to
yeah.
do. That was the positive thing, even though again, a lot of them didn't really have any real patriotism in them. They just would have done their job. They would have done their duty. And what was your other question?
Oh, that was it.
No.
Oh,
That was
that was
pretty
it.
much it. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just added really quick like how long you were there.
Yeah.
But you already
Oh,
answered.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. It was quick. Again, like I said, I left because of the mentality. You can't really serve as a volunteer with people who are serving because they have to for financial reasons.
Oh yeah, of course,
Yeah,
obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it doesn't click together. The mentality.
Yeah. I want to thank everyone who's joining us tonight live on YouTube and Facebook at a late hour. Well, it's not that late, but that's not our typical time.
Yeah.
So we see your questions. So we will ask your
Yeah.
questions later on. So again, we just want to go through our kind of interview conversation, and then we'll ask all the questions. Hike, you see the questions too, right? I think on the side.
Yeah. I'm
Okay.
trying
All
to.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll get to
we'll
them. We'll
get to
get to
those
them.
kind of bag of question type
Okay.
thing
Um,
at the end.
so this is something I wanted to kind of cover. You were there with the so-called Velvet Revolution. I think most of us were caught up in the movement and the excitement. I know I was, everyone was hopeful for the change. Kind of, we were all longing for. Unfortunately, you know, it was all a sham, in my opinion. But what was your experience at that point of like you being there? Your point of view as a basically being from the diaspora during that time in Armenia. Did you see hope, or did you read through the lines?
Well, before I answer this, I want to add something about the service I forgot to mention.
Sure, sure.
Okay.
While I was serving, yeah, I forgot about it. I think it was after my second shift, I get invited to the defense ministry in Armenia by Vic and Sargsyan, the defense minister at the time.
Yeah.
He wanted to just have a conversation about my service. So I went, we met, we talked for like 30 minutes, and he actually was thinking about starting a service program for diaspora and Armenians to come from the diaspora and serve voluntarily for like a
Huh.
year with other diaspora and Armenians. And we kind of discussed that. And if this whole Velvet Revolution thing didn't happen, we were probably going to plan something like that together. So that was one thing I really wanted to add. It's kind of
Okay.
interesting.
I
It would
wonder
have been
how
a good
I
idea.
wonder
That would have been definitely a good idea
yeah, I
to do.
wonder how that would have worked out. I'd be
Yeah,
curious.
because
You know what I mean?
uh, other people come, they could serve with like-minded
Yeah,
diaspora and Armenians instead of serving with people who don't want to serve. You know.
yeah.
That,
Interesting.
but yeah, the whole Velvet Revolution thing, I knew it was a sham from the beginning because, like I said, I was following Armenian politics starting from 2008. That's when the whole March 1st
Yeah.
incident happened. And I knew that time a lot of people were throwing the blame on Kocharyan. I'm not a fan of Kocharyan. I don't support him.
Mm-hmm.
But you could clearly see that at that time it was Levon and his student Levon Terpetrosyan and a student Nikol Pashinyan who instigated that whole riot and everything. They were the ones who were provoking people to
Yeah.
attack the police and everything. Anyways, I knew from that time that Nikol Pashinyan was a traitor and enemy of the state and a coward. And to me, that's why it was so surprising that so many people were supporting him. I mean, I understand that diasporan Armenians were supporting him because a lot of them they didn't
You're on the
follow.
outside. Yeah, you're on the outside
Yeah, they
looking
didn't
in.
follow the
Yeah.
news like I was.
Yeah.
But the people living here who were supporting him, that just blew my mind because it's like, are you kidding me? And I also knew it was a sham because anytime you have so-called like a revolution that's solely based on hatred, you're gonna get nothing but negative things from it, you know. And that's all it was. It was just people. Merci Sergin. That was like the whole logo. There was no. They didn't really believe in anything. They had no really vision or anything. It was just based on hatred and animosity towards this Republican Party, and that's why, to me, all those things. It was a. It was obvious to me that it wasn't going to lead to anywhere good, and I was outspoken about it online. I was
Yeah.
actually I was making many posts about against it while I was serving, which I wasn't supposed to do. You're not supposed to uh, say anything politically while you're in the service because you're supposed to be apolitical. But I didn't care. I mean, I had to speak my mind because everyone was supporting this scoundrel, and I wanted to, wake some people up. So I was making a lot of posts. I was making a lot of memes. I was writing a lot of stuff. I was the first person on Facebook to hashtag reject Nicole, where everyone else was writing reject Serge or Merci Sergin. I was writing
So,
Merci Nicolin,
now let
And
me let
and
me
at that time, I was calling like Nico supporters, the hardcore Nico supporters. I was calling them zombies back in 2018.
um let me ask you something about that. Since you brought it up, how were you greeted with, let's say, being, let's call it anti-Nikol, or a
Yeah.
voice against Nikol, right? How, I mean, we all saw the images, we all saw the pictures, we saw how big the crowds were, right? And it
hmm
gives you the impression that the entire damn country is supporting it. That's what
hmm
impression, we all know how mainstream media paints things,
Well,
right?
not just that. Don't
So
go ahead.
no, go ahead,
No, I was
add to
gonna
it.
say you were saying the crowds and everything. It was a power vacuum that was
Of
created
course it
through, and
was.
he used
Yeah, yeah,
Facebook.
absolutely.
It was the whole social media,
And that happened. Look how many
So,
times we've seen
and
it happen.
it became
Yeah.
like the cool thing to do. I think at that point is like, okay, well, everybody's kind of
Well,
joined this movement. Let's go do it.
yeah,
Without even thinking
but
twice where this is gonna
but
lead to.
again, it's, if anyone has followed enough geopolitics around the globe over the last, I'd say, I don't know, the last 10 to 12 years, it's the same thing over and over again in multiple different countries,
Yeah.
right? Now, we're not trying to get into that. The whole point is, I'm curious with our people, with Armenians, that since you were in opposition of a populist movement, right?
hmm
As we saw, how were you greeted with, like, what was people's reaction towards that to you,
Hey,
or like-minded individuals such as yourself?
well, the thing is, it was crazy, man. I knew all this stuff. I saw all this stuff living in the United States, especially in 2008 when Obama came to power. People, it was kind of like the same thing. It was the same populist stuff. People were kind of
Yeah.
hypnotized, and
Well, everyone wanted Bush gone. That's why. So
yeah, and I saw,
that was the play.
it was pretty much like a copy over here.
Yeah.
I just didn't know that our people were um, that naive to really believe all that stuff. I thought I was expecting more from our people. That was kind of disappointing. I didn't know that they were gonna be so easily fooled by this charlatan,
Yeah.
But and when I was speaking against it online and offline too. Whoever I came across, I was openly against it, and a lot of times online I got death threats. Even like a lot of people were calling. They were calling me a traitor. They were calling me a traitor for calling out the traitors. It's kind of hilarious. Irony,
You're
And I was getting
feeling a
really
little
attacked.
vindicated these days?
Yeah, I had when I first came to Armenia. I built up a huge following on Facebook because a lot
Yeah.
of people sent me requests and everything. But when I started speaking against Nicole, a lot of those people unfriended me. They started speaking out against me again, calling me traitor. I'm dividing the people. I'm full of hate. This or that. It was crazy, man. I felt like it was
Yeah.
this cult.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I could imagine.
Yeah, it was this cult that was taking over the country, and I could see that. And when I was coming back from the service, I was in my army uniform, and I'm walking around in the city, and I'm seeing these people like hypnotized, wearing nickel shirts. I was like, "Are you kidding me? Like this is like some cult." And seeing those coffins, and it's just all had this very negative energy, man. I don't know
You
how
should have seen it
people saw that
here.
as
You should have
positive.
seen it here. It was
I saw
unbelievable.
I
Everybody
saw
were,
videos. Yeah, it was
yeah. I mean, people
pulse.
started creating dances
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
Dukhov thing
Yeah.
and the T-shirts. I mean,
Yep.
unbelievable. With
Again,
his
I
face on
can't
it.
blame the diaspora. Again, like
Mhm.
they're very manipulated.
Hey,
But
listen, I got caught up in it. I got caught
We
up
all
in it
did, man.
myself
We all
because,
did.
yeah,
Everybody did.
we all wanted the best for
Yep.
Armenia, and we felt at that time that maybe this was the opportunity, but we were so caught up that we didn't see what was really happening.
yeah.
And unfortunately now we do.
Well,
And
yeah.
you know,
You know.
I knew this whole hatred towards the Qarabakh clan, as they call it, Qarabakh clan. It was done intentionally. They wanted to get rid of this clan so they could, conspire against Artsakh, and that's exactly what they did. I mean, we could get into the details. The Republican Party, Sir Sarkisian, Kochar, they did a lot of bad things. No
mhm.
one's denying that.
Yeah.
But basically what happened is people got rid of the bad to put the worse in. That's it went from bad to worse, and that's what I saw that was gonna happen. That was the only reason why I was speaking out
You
against it
know.
because I didn't
Well, yeah.
want.
Painted.
I wanted to
Painted.
change, but towards the good, not towards this.
Painted under the guise of the promises of utopia, which is
Yeah,
basic. Yeah, which is basically the same play that's gone on in how many different places all over the world, man. You're talking
it
about.
was a
You can
cult.
compare it. You can compare it to the Arab Spring. You can compare it to so many similar things. It's the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, it's just this was interesting because
Yeah.
when this happened, both Russia and the West and everything everybody was for it. Even all the news stations, Al
Yeah.
Jazeera, CNN, like nobody condemned the so-called revolution. Usually, whenever like some type of revolution happens, either one side condemns it and the other side supports it, or vice versa. You
Yeah.
never have.
Yeah.
It's very rare to see that
It's a
all
good point.
sides are all for it.
Yeah.
And I saw that, and I was very suspicious too. It was like this is something's up with this, and I wrote that time this guy's coming to betray Artsakh, and I wrote that time, and I even made a meme about all that stuff. And yeah,
Well, it was in his
to me it
book.
was just
It
very
was in his
obvious.
book.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean, the book
people
he
were just
wrote.
blinded. They were
Yeah.
very blinded by this
F-
again by
false
the
hope.
hatred, by all this emotions and everything. No one
Well,
was thinking
listen,
sober.
you gotta give him credit. He played it right, and he used the greatest powerful tool, which is social media, and at that time, Facebook.
He didn't. I mean,
And
the people behind them,
behind
they
him, but
propped them up.
behind him, yeah. And he took the opportunity, and he created this power vacuum, and we all got sucked into it, from the diaspora to over there, and that's why we're here
Hmm.
now. So
Yeah, I just again like I have a different vision of like Armenia, what it's supposed to be and everything, and I knew this person is not is not someone
yeah.
that's going to bring about make that vision a reality. So
Yeah.
it's just none of it made any sense to me, and I'm just disappointed at the people who knew this guy was a traitor and a scumbag, but they didn't speak out against it. Like they didn't say anything, and now all of a sudden they're all Kochan and Ser supporters, anti-Nico. But where were they 4 years ago when the masses needed to hear their voice? They weren't saying anything, and that
Sometimes you need this kind of nonsense to wake up a sleeping giant, man.
Yeah.
yeah,
No.
And that's that. Honestly, at this point, that's the true hope. Is like
and
the people unite and wake up as a sleeping giant.
And evil
No. No.
prevails when like good people don't do anything, and that's what happened.
Exactly. Exactly.
Now, as far as and I'm noticing one of the someone asked, as far as threats, what type of threats did you have towards you?
Just I mean, I don't think anything serious. It was just a bunch of probably Facebook keyboard warriors. They were just saying
Okay.
stuff like, yeah, qu'est-ce que spawning regime hit or something like that. I don't know. Just it was like fake accounts or this or that.
Okay. So it was
I didn't
trolls,
really pay
basically.
attention, man. I don't care about that stuff. It was just funny to me. But more, it was more people calling me a sellout, a traitor. I'm working for Serge. I'm a Serge agent. I'm
Yeah,
getting
they're
financed
trying
by
to connect the dots
Hana
with something.
Petagon. They
Yeah.
even thought I was a Hana, like a Serge spy. Or that's. I'm quoting somebody, Serge spy. Uh, Back in 2016 when I first moved to Armenia, it was like it was just very immature and ridiculous the stuff they said. But it was kind of funny too. So I
I
don't
know
mind it.
this is a little, well, somewhat off topic, on topic, whatever. However, so you said you taught yourself how to learn how to read and write Armenian, right?
Yes.
Um, Obviously, with the you know um, being in Armenia, moving to Armenia, that obviously helped immensely. But how difficult was it for you to adjust to the reading part of it? Let's say the speaking part of it, anybody can kind of adjust, right?
Yeah.
But the reading part of it, the literature, I
Yes.
know, and I'm asking
Because you
for,
write really well.
yeah, you do. I've read your stuff on your Telegram channel, and it's very well put together. So I'm a little jealous. I'm not gonna lie, because there was a point in my life, and this is a relation question, where there was a point in my life where I hadn't really read or write Armenian, read or written Armenian, I'm sorry, for a number of years. And then once I had to start reading certain things, it was a little difficult, man. I'm not gonna lie. You know, it's just interesting how humans kind of lose touch with
Yeah.
certain languages if you don't work on it or you don't practice it for
Hmm.
whatever reason. So I just want to, I guess we both want to know what was your transition like?
Uh, yeah, when I was 17, like I said, I learned just to read and write on my own. I got children's books from like April bookstore in Glendale and
Yeah,
Sardarapat and Perch. There's like those three main bookstores over there. I
yeah.
literally, I got children's books like first grade. I just sat my butt down on the chair and started learning the letters, writing like three-letter words, this or that, and reading children books up until like fifth, sixth grade level until I started reading, normal history books. I was
Yeah.
able to read well, even though my vocabulary wasn't good. I was always checking the dictionary. That was kind of annoying because Armenian vocabulary is very huge. Like
Yeah.
I think, yeah, a couple of times more than the English language. And but again, my conversational skills in Armenian and my grammar in writing Armenian was still bad because no, you need someone to help you no matter how good you learn it on your own. You still need someone to teach you. So when I first came to Armenia, my Armenian wasn't that good. It was good compared to like a lot of diasporan Armenians, but my expectations are high. When I say good, I mean
Sure.
like professional like level.
Yeah, like
So
Garak on Armenian, you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
you write to that level,
Yeah.
you know?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you
And
I
do.
mean, sometimes I have a hard time reading it. I mean, again, there's times where the words are, I struggle, I'll admit, because we're so
yeah,
used to reading English
Yeah,
here.
it's crazy if you don't exercise
that's
that part of your brain.
understandable. I mean, and another thing is a lot of Armenians in the diaspora they think in English if they're from America, of course,
Yes,
or
yes.
they don't they think and then they translate in their mind and then they speak it. That's
Mhm.
the one of the reasons they have such a hard time talking in Armenian
Hmm.
because they don't think in Armenian. But when I was here the first year, when I was the first year and a half after the revolution, I wasn't speaking that well, even though I was still getting by pretty well. After I left the service, I knew again that in the near future I was gonna get involved politically, so I wanted to master Armenian really well. Even though if I didn't have any political intentions, I still really wanted to learn it properly because that's the normal thing to do, right? I mean, if someone from Armenia goes to
Oh,
America, what are they going to do? They're
absolutely.
going to take English
Absolutely.
classes,
Yeah,
right?
it's
Yeah,
natural.
So why
absolutely. I
can't
mean,
we do the opposite?
it's one of the things. I mean, when I was visiting Armenia quite often back somewhere between like circa 2005 to like 10, that was one of the things. I was like, man, I gotta bring back like my Garak on Haydn that I learned in school. Like it was decimated. It was done. You know what I mean? It was just very basic Armenian at some point until you start kind of talking to
Yeah.
people again or
You know what I
reading
think they
anything,
should do? I
you
think
know?
those of us in diaspora who have a hard time reading in Armenian or writing as well, we should practice, how to write and read properly. And Armenians in Armenia need to learn English.
Well, they do. They do learn
The new
English.
generation is, but
Yeah.
the older ones, they need to learn English. It's very important. That's
Can
one of the biggest
can,
problems we have.
can you teach an old dog new
Mhm.
tricks?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Keep it off. No, I'm just kidding. uh, but that's the biggest problem we have right now, especially when it comes to historical content. One of the biggest roadblocks that we have is there are amazing books written by amazing historians, but everything is in Armenian, and those historians
Mhm.
themselves don't know English, and I can't blame them because it's a generation that was stuck in the Soviet era for so long. They didn't realize that the how English would be the world's
Oh
language.
yeah, it was a
And that's how
different
you get
time.
your information out, because if you look at the enemy, everything they publish is in English,
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
and
true. I
that's how
mean,
they are ahead of us. We publish everything in Armenia and keep it within Armenia, and it's just like, what's the point? What is the point if you cannot get your message across to the world that 99% of them speak English?
Yeah.
Then you can write all the books you want, they're just going to collect dust. So that's the problem in Armenia. We need to make sure the new generation learns English, proper English, and then the ones who are still in their 30s, 40s can still learn.
yeah,
That it's very important, and we need to learn Armenian.
Well,
So,
yeah. I
I
mean,
mean, read and write. We know Armenian, but
I know you do it. You and I have talked about it. We'll put ourselves through. Not that I don't want to call it a challenge, but like if we have come across an Armenian article, you're gonna read it. You're not
yeah,
gonna
of course.
translate it
No, I can.
just to exercise your eye and your mind and whatnot, right?
No, when I say read, like I don't, I can read, but sometimes some words you struggle,
Sure.
because we have words that a simple thing has like a 20-letter word for it, and you know what I'm talking about. Um,
yeah. Yeah,
so,
trust me, I know. I mean, like I said, uh, when I decided to really master Armenian, I found this really good Armenian tutor, and I basically took private lessons with her twice a week for 2 years. I mean, the first
yeah,
year it
Wow.
was in person, and then that whole COVID thing I think happened, and we started doing like online kind of. And basically, two
I
years,
like that.
I went through all the grammar. I went through like from zero. I read
Yeah.
Vartanang, I read Khent, I read the Samvel, I read like 10 Armenian novels, like thick novels like this. And that really helped me master it. I did all the exercises in those grammar books. Basically, what I'm trying to say is I put in a lot of work to
Yeah,
get my
yeah. You put
Armenian to
like
the level
straight
that
up
you see. Taking
Armenian
out of
language
thin air,
boot
you know?
camp. Yeah.
Yeah, it really
Yeah.
was, and I put in a lot of time and effort, but it's crazy. Now I'd probably say my Armenian is better than English because I've been writing in Armenian so much this last couple of years, and
That's
all
cool,
my
man.
thoughts and everything. I could write I could write like an article like in probably 10 minutes, if I really put my mind to it.
that's
But
amazing.
That's
That's
awesome.
amazing,
and
man. Good for you.
that's the thing. A lot of the repat Armenians need to do if they really
Yeah.
want
Yeah,
to adapt and immerse in Armenian society. They need to take Armenian lessons and know how to speak it properly and respect the language. You got to respect
yeah.
it. If
Uh,
you just okay with just if you're living here, you're just okay with being mediocre at it. That's not good enough. I mean,
Yeah,
just like
just
someone
basic communication. Yeah.
yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
just
uh,
like someone
uh,
moving to America with Americans, they don't like it, right? If someone like an immigrant doesn't learn English properly,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
kind
yeah.
of they yeah they don't like that. So it's kind of the
Nope.
same thing over here. even though a lot of the locals will telling me that why are you taking Armenian classes for what? Why are you wasting your time and money? Gna ուրիշ բան սովորի, փող աշխատելու բան սովորի, go learn programming language, not Armenian language. I go like, nah, before I learn computer language, I want to learn my language first.
Yeah.
And now I'm pretty confident, yeah, when it comes to like the Armenian stuff. Even though I'm still learning, there's
Well,
still a
yeah,
lot
I
of
mean,
words.
just based off of your writings, bro, like that's
Well,
not.
how long did it take you to get a good grasp?
Again, about a year or two, and
Year or
right
two?
when I was already finishing up my second year, that's when the war started. That's pretty much, and that's where I like pretty much finished the course. It was a good finisher. It was a
Yeah.
good conclusion to
Yeah.
the entire class. That's pretty interesting. But yeah, I say about uh, depends what your level is at, but I'd say about 2 years it takes to really know it well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I mean, mostly goes for almost any language, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to get into
Well,
fluent
if you didn't know
speaking,
Armenian at
writing.
all, that'll take like 5, 6
Oh,
years at
yeah.
least.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Abiding in Truth is saying we should start a podcast and learning in Armenian. How about you take on that one?
Yeah, you can run the offshoot,
yeah,
man.
yeah. We'll give you we'll give you the rights. Yeah, we'll give you the rights, just a small percentage from all the proceeds.
I mean, learning it is one thing, but teaching Armenian is like completely different. It's very hard. Like
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Even in
even
Armenian school, it was hard to stomach and I'm speaking from experience.
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Niles is saying,
it's
yeah, it's because you were dedicated. Yeah,
Yeah,
anybody, if you're
dedication,
dedicated
man.
to
Yeah.
anything, you put the hours,
Yep.
you'll get there and you'll do it.
It snowballs.
Yeah. Hike, I'm gonna kind of go on a divert towards a different topic I want to talk about. September 27th, 2020
mm,
is a day that I don't think any Armenian will ever forget. Um, can you talk about your experience waking up that day and hearing the news that Azerbaijan has attacked Artsakh, and and how you reacted, and then from there, I want you to talk about your involvement during the war yourself as a reservist.
yeah, yeah, it was pretty crazy morning. I woke up, I saw my friends had called me, I had missed calls, and I called them back, and they told me what's going on. I didn't even like look at the news yet, and they told me yeah they started a full scale attack. And then I woke up, I watched the news. I go like, all right, this the thing that I knew was gonna happen finally happened. So um, just pretty much right then and there, I started packing my stuff. I was getting ready to be gone for at least a year, if not more. That I was getting like my gear ready, my uniform, this or that. I paid off like my bills or everything. I was pretty much preparing for uh, a long term
Yeah.
yeah, absence from home, and that was the thing that a lot of people didn't do. When I went already dressed up in my uniform with my gear, when I went to the Zinkom, I saw people who weren't prepared at all. They went with slippers, literally with slippers and like t-shirts to go to war, and they're all looking at me like I'm crazy. You know, I didn't go on September 27th, by the way. I went 2 days later, September 29th, because it took me some time to prepare all my
Yeah.
stuff because, again, I was taking it seriously. I'd rather go 2 days late and go prepared than go the first day and
Yeah.
not prepared at all. So
Yeah.
that's why when I went to the recruitment place and they're looking at me like I'm the crazy one, like I'm dressed in my uniform, I'm shaven, I got my backpack, my duffel bag, all ready to go. They're looking at me like, who is this guy? They thought I'm some like special forces or like Rambo or whatever. But right when I get out the taxi, yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah, I get out of the taxi and the major sees me from like afar. He sees me from like 200 meters away, from like that crowd of like 1,000 people. and he just points at me, yells, he says, "Du still Adi?" And I was looking behind me. I thought he's talking to somebody else. He was actually pointing at me because he saw that I'm ready to go. So I just cut through everybody in the line, and I just go. He tells me, "Where do you want to go?" Actually, no,
Wow,
I
they
think he
gave
said, no. What he said is, so I forgot what he said. I go like, you know what, just take me wherever I need to go, wherever I need to be. He says, Hadrut. I thought he said Hadrut. He actually meant Hater. Hater Kuzes, Gnas. As if like you have a choice, like whatever, man.
yeah.
Like just send me, you
It's not
know?
a vacation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was like, wow, they gave you like options. Like, here's the menu,
No,
man.
I
Where
don't
do you
think
want to go?
they just say that. Even though if you say no, they're still gonna send you. I don't know why they said it like that, but it was
Yeah.
weird. But I thought he meant Hadrut, so I go to my I say, yeah, whatever, take me to wherever I need to go. I don't care, like I'm down, you know. So he says, all right, get your stuff, say bye to your dad, and sit in the bus. It's moving in 10 minutes. So I go, I tell my dad I'm leaving. I'm going to Hadrut. And later on, I found out during the bus ride, which took 12 hours because we went from the south because the Vartanis road was being bombarded by the Azeris. Uh, we couldn't go through the short route, which was only like 4 or 5 hours. We went through the long route all the way to Martakert, which is where Haterk is. That's when I found out that I'm going to Haterk and not Hadrut. And it was
Wow.
just kind of interesting because when I first applied to serve in Artsakh, I was in Martakert base, and they rejected me. So it's like I'm going back to Martakert to
Wow.
serve there. Yeah, that was the interesting part. So I could get into details if you guys want to know, like what
Yeah, I
happened.
mean,
Sure.
go for it. That's what we want
Floor's
people
yours,
to hear
man.
your story. That's the point of this.
Yeah, well, it took again about like 12 hours. By the time we got to Haterk, it was about like 2, 3 a.m. and we had a 1 or 2 hour shut eye, and we woke up at 4, 5 a.m. and they lined us up. They told us what platoon we are in, what gun we're gonna have, and yada yada. And then the guys started looking for their right size shoes, their uniforms, and they couldn't find it. Like I was already ready. I'm just sitting there relaxing while they're in a frenzy. They don't know what to do because their size pants are gone. Like they're all wearing they usually wear like 42 or something, right? They only had like 45s left. So they had to wear those those pants over the jeans they had on. And
Wow.
the shoes they usually wear, let's say, like a 42. They only had 45s left, which is, let's say, like in America, it's a 10 and a half. They only had 12 and a halves left. So they're wearing those military boots over their sneakers. And it was just a chaotic mess, man. And that was surprising to me. It's like those people were locals. They're supposed to know what kind of situation the military is in. They're supposed to know, that unfortunately, our military isn't that organized to be able to properly give the right equipment to its soldiers. So they just went with carelessly, without any equipment, without any uh, gear, nothing. They just went as if they're going to like a picnic, And a lot of the people
Jeez.
didn't take it seriously. They thought it was going to be like an April War, a couple of days, and they're gonna take some selfies or something and come back. They weren't treating this seriously. That's one of the things I noticed. And
Now, were these reservists or just regular folks who wanted to join?
I don't know. I don't think they called anyone yet because it was only the second day. They didn't call me. That's for sure.
You just
I went.
went.
Yeah, yeah, of course. No, they didn't call. I don't even think I'm in the reserve as a reserve because
But my question is the people that you're talking about that were there with you that were having a hard time finding the right shoes and were these
I don't
actual
think
soldiers or
they have served before, but they weren't
okay,
called. I don't think they were called.
they
A lot
just
of
showed up
people.
like you, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people, unfortunately, that volunteered were people that they didn't take it seriously. They thought it was only going to be a couple of days. They just wanted to go help, and then later on say they participated in the war or whatever.
Yeah.
And The other part is just people who had like relatives in the front. They had a son who was serving, a brother, or somebody like that, and they wanted to go be by their side, as
Yeah.
you know, understandably um, call it. But all in all, like very few people went with really real patriotic intentions, and that was a unfortunate thing.
Ugh, that's
Uh,
sad to hear.
but yeah, I mean, there no, don't get me wrong, there still were a lot,
Yeah,
but
and this isn't for everybody. Obviously, this doesn't pertain to every single individual. But to have cases like this or to hear
yeah,
about this is
yeah,
really.
it was just a mess. That they were all over the place trying to find their right size clothing and everything, and I'm just relaxing. And towards the sunset, more and more people were coming to the base. Towards the sunset, they started bombing the village. I saw actually a house right in front of me blow up into pieces, and we just scattered in the forest. What happened is the UAVs were taking pictures from above, and they saw where there was a lot of movement, where there was a lot of gathering of troops, and they sent the coordinates uh, to the soldiers, and they were firing the cannons at the village. So we just scattered in the forest, and we waited until the nighttime so we could sit in the trucks and head to the posts. And right when that happened, we I was already dark. We They called us. We jumped inside the truck, and they started bombing again. And the driver, had the lights off. He had it was rainy, it was muddy, he had the lights off, and he was just driving like that for 1 hour. He knew the
Oh,
road like automatically. I mean, that was crazy. Like, and we were just in the truck, hearing cannon fire and pitch black. We can't even see the person right in front of us. And for like 1 hour, and I started singing some patriotic songs, and then other people started singing just to boost some morale.
Yeah.
And when we're getting up to the base, it was only a couple of kilometers left. He told us to jump out of the truck because he thought that we were gonna fire at the truck. So we just jump out of the truck on an uphill, and we just roll around in the mud. We slip and we fall. It was yeah, it was chaotic. And the rest of the 3 kilometers, we just marched uh, up the hill, and it was foggy. I couldn't see anything. I had no idea where I was. So it was kind of a scary point, yeah. But whatever, we pushed through. We got to the post, and it was just a mess, man. Because those posts, they're not meant to house 40 people. They're only meant to house like 10, 15 people max. So when we first went there, it was crowded, it was cramped, and the blindage is where the soldiers sleep and everything, and it was the first 2 weeks. It was just chaotic. The place where we go and you know defend the front and everything. They have a shell. It's like a where you could defend from aerial bombardment.
hmm.
It's called a shell. Basically, like a little like a hill. You just
Yeah.
go inside, it's like a
Yeah.
little cave. And yeah, that took some time for us to like make it bigger, make it more decent, so we don't have to crawl all the time. But the first 2 weeks, that we were basically sleeping on the ground in the dirt, and even when it was like when it started snowing in October, I was in a mountainous region. That's one I was lucky to even go to a place like that. So that was the interesting part. But the first 2 3 weeks was crazy. And when we first got there, we saw soldiers who were the soldiers there who were uh, serving. They were
Yeah.
on their feet asleep. That's because they hadn't slept in like 2 3 days since the war had
You're
started.
you're
They,
kidding me.
they no, they were waiting for us to come and do the shift change. So automatically when we got to the post, I didn't even rest. So I just went and just um,
Give them a
took over
break.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, took over. I stood there for like 10 hours or something before I waited for the guys to come back. Anyways, it was just a messy situation. But the first time they attacked that post was the first day of the war. I wasn't even there yet, obviously, but I saw the dead Turks on the river on the, nearby with the binoculars. they attacked, but they pretty much failed miserably. And the second time they attacked was the post right in front of us on the fifth day of the war, or no, fifth day I was there, which was like seventh day of the war. It was a long battle for like 8 hours. They were nonstop bombing the post in front of us. They were bombing us too. We were constantly like hiding, looking out, hiding, looking out. It was like nonstop 8 hours. The cannons behind
Intense.
us were firing at them. Yeah, it was a memorable, remember. It was a interesting experience. I could definitely say that. Like I could remember it like it was yesterday.
To put it
Like
lightly.
yeah, it was crazy, man. And
Wow.
after that, a lot of people were they started getting a little scared because the war was dragging on longer than they thought. They didn't think it was gonna take so long. But even that battle that I said that we saw from afar, the post that they attacked, two people died from our side, and a lot of people who were there voluntarily didn't do anything. They were just scared. They went in the blindage and didn't come out. And because again, a lot of people weren't taking it seriously. They thought it was gonna be some easy, um, like couple of days, and they could just go back home. They weren't mentally prepared, but I was mentally prepared. I even wrote a will. Like I even told like my family everything, and it's better to just go with that type of mindset and leave all that
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
home than instead of the opposite,
Yeah.
thinking
The
it's gonna be
nothing
easy and then
nothing
get
to
a
lose
shock.
mentality. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I
Yeah.
went. And yeah, it was more of the
Wow,
weather thing
man.
that was crazy where I was at because it was mountainous. It was always changing. It was sunny and then cold. It was sunny and then cold. It was yeah, intense. But
You
there
guys,
was no active drone activity, thank God, on our side. Yeah, that was one of the good things. And Martakert was really well defended.
yeah, I was
So
just
that
gonna
was one
ask
of
you
the
that.
positive things.
Like they weren't able to take it basically because of the mountainous
Yeah.
regions. I think
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was
yeah.
an advantage to us. Um, from what you witnessed, we talk about, yeah, we did unfortunately had a lot of losses, but um, we always have this question. We feel like the Azeris never obviously tell the truth. What was it like on their end? Were we giving them hell,
Um, I mean,
or were we just more
look.
on the defense, just taking it and then waiting?
Well,
Uh,
like I said, in our area, they didn't make any advance at all in Martakert region, except in Madagis, which is probably 20 kilometers away from me. I think that was the only part. But again, like I said, out of many times before, this whole war was pre-planned. I mean, um, it was staged. A lot of generals deliberately committed treason. I don't really want to get into maybe the details unless
Yeah.
if you guys want, but it was a lot of treason involved. It was all pre-planned, and uh, obviously, when soldiers see that their generals are fleeing and not doing their duty, they don't feel any obligation to do their duty as well. So uh, that's why it was a chaotic mess in that whole wartime because um, it was treason from all the way
Yeah.
up, and that came all the way down, even to like a lot of soldiers who fled too. And look, we didn't have an army that was strong enough to go all the way to Baku, but the army we had was strong enough to defend what we had, and that's one thing I don't like when people who try to who still support Nico for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah.
They say that it's not his fault. It's the military that was weak. He had
Well,
no fault in it, which is absolutely insane. But
well, they gotta
that's
find the
that's
fault
that,
guy,
that's not
right?
true at all because the April War they tried to do what they did in 2020, but they failed. And the reason why because there was no planned treason like there was in this war. So
yeah. Hi,
um,
correct me if I'm wrong, but Azerbaijan was using their full force army, special forces, including the
Hmm.
And
mercenaries and
mercenaries, yeah.
mercenaries and Turkey backing them.
Yeah.
I our army wasn't fully there. I mean, we have an army of 150K active. Plus, we have another 300,000 actual reserves, trained reserves. Um, I, what can you say about it? Am I wrong that it wasn't anything close to what we could have done as far as if the Armenian, not just the Artsakh, the Armenian army got fully involved, or is it truly this pathetic situation with that we're seeing right now that we have to send uh, bulletproof vests to our soldiers, or we see pictures of the way they are right now at the border between Azerbaijan and us, or even in Jermuk.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen some pictures sent to us where we're just like, this is unbelievable. Like, are we that bad? Are we in this really bad situation with the army?
Yeah, I mean, if you really look at it, all the post-Soviet countries have a really unorganized military. Even Russia, even this a lot of Russian army has a lot of holes, and we could even see that right now in this Russian-Ukraine war too. So it's not just Armenia. I think it's all post-Soviet countries have this problem. And like I said, this whole uh, war, it was even though there was a lot of trees involved, a lot of our soldiers still fought courageously and did their duties amazingly. So even with all the treason that went on, Aliyev still said right after the war, he said that if the war continued for just 3 more weeks or something like that, a couple of more weeks, we would have faced serious consequences. Meaning that he was going to lose. He just that's another way of saying it because the snow
Yeah.
would have set in, his mercenaries weren't going to be able to fight, and he was already running out of weapons. He was bringing out his old T-55 tanks from the arsenal.
Yeah.
And but can you imagine if we had a decent leadership without treason, and if we had a real draft of soldiers and not some media lying to the people saying "Hach de Luenk," and so people at home think that okay, if it's a Hach de Luenk, why do I need to volunteer? Why
Yeah.
if we're gonna
Yeah.
win? Why not? Why do I have to volunteer? Then let the let the people who want to go. I'm not gonna volunteer if there's no reason to. I don't know. At first, I
Yeah.
blamed the people for not voluntarily going, but I understand not everyone is like a patriot like that, where they feel like they have to volunteer, and that's why we have a state, we have a government that's support, and we have a military that's supposed to uh, do these things, whether people like it or not. They're supposed to
Yep.
draft, they're supposed to do that. So not just volunteers and devotees go and risk their lives. So
Yeah.
everyone can do it. It's supposed to equalize everything in that regard. It's supposed to put everyone on the same platform. And I mean, it's crazy. During World War II, they drafted. We had a population of I think 2 million Armenians. They drafted 600,000 Armenians to the front to fight like Germans for what? In World War II, like they sent us on a massacre. Four hundred
Yeah.
thousand Armenians died for what? What did we get out of it? We got nothing. We
Yeah.
lost a generation of the best of our people. I consider it a second genocide. If we were able to do that, to go to Europe, killing the best Europeans for some reason, God knows why, we couldn't do a draft and send a third of that, like 200,000 people from the Republic of Armenia to Artsakh to defend. I mean, come on, that's
Yeah.
ridiculous. I mean, that makes absolutely no sense. And at a time where we're going like nearby to defend our border, we're not going to Europe or somewhere else, you know. Which again, if everything was planned well, everything was executed properly with the draft, even with the military we had now, Azerbaijan wouldn't last a chance. I wouldn't stand the chance. They would have lost the war. I mean, worst case, we would have lost maybe a couple, like 10-20% of our land, but they were going to be completely, the whole arsenal was going to completely be depleted. So, yeah, all this stuff that they say it's all because
Wow.
of our military is nonsense. There's definitely treason.
Interesting.
But Yeah, I could go
Uh,
on all day. Sorry, this is a
yeah,
long
yeah,
topic.
no,
I
no,
could
man.
go on.
I could listen to this all day as much as I, hate to admit it, but I really can. So once moving forward in the timeline of the sequence of events of the war, once the ceasefire was announced, you know, and things kind of returned to normal life, I guess, right? If we can even call it that. Um, what made you start the Hosang party or movement? Let's get into that for a little bit.
Yeah, well, again, when I went to the war, I knew there was going to be treason. Believe it or not, I just kind of was lying to myself. I mean, even before I went, I told
Yeah,
my dad, I go like, you know what, I'll go, but I just hope these scumbags don't stab us in the back. And lo and behold, that's what happened, you know. And but during the war, I was very optimistic. I was trying not to be pessimistic. Excuse me. And but when I heard the news about the surrender,
mm-hmm.
I didn't get surprised at all. I knew I was like, okay, uh, what happened happened. I just got surprised at two things. One, I didn't know it was going to be treason at this level where everything was going to be pre-planned like this, like a movie script where the
Yeah,
war was going to end right on the flag day of Azerbaijan, like a freaking holiday. And two,
that's
that
right.
people were
That's
going
right.
to
I heard about that. Yeah,
yeah, and two, people were still going to support the person who did such great treason. I thought he was gonna be like like hanged the next day.
well,
So
people look at it as like a peaceful offering or peaceful move. That's the way it was painted here.
Well, he claimed that he saved
That's that
30,000
again.
soldiers
It was
because they
it
were
was also
gonna.
painted like that here too.
Yeah.
But whoever knew. Like, I'm not gonna name names of people that I know. They smelled it from all the way over here.
Yeah.
You
yeah,
know.
he's saying he saved 30,000 soldiers, but he actually killed 5,000 plus soldiers
Yeah.
and stabbed them all in the back for no for the reason that he was brought to power in the first place was to do all this
Yeah.
stuff. But and again, like I said, I had political intentions and I just when I came back, I saw the political chaos, and I just saw things getting worse and worse, more division, more confusion, more chaos, and that's why I decided, I can't just be a spectator, I can't just be a
Yeah.
bystander, and just watch all this unfold before my eyes. I felt like I had to participate,
Yeah.
and for the whole like 5 years I was in Armenia, I was looking for a political organization, movement, party, whatever you want to call it. I was looking for some type of organization like that to join, but I just couldn't find anything like that. Everything I found was either supported by some cult, by some foreign agency, by some oligarch, yeah, and none of them really had like true nationalist ideas or anything. A lot of them use Nejde's name, his quotes, his pictures. They exploit Nejde's ideas,
Of course they
and
do.
but they're really anything but Nejde Hakan's or nationalists or anything. And I didn't see such a movement anywhere. I just saw a bunch of parties, bunch of organizations that were full of opportunists, businessmen, and unfortunately a lot of traitors. And that's why I felt like I had to, do something, start something where it could be genuine and clean, with nothing like that involved. And it's hard to start something from scratch, especially if
Yeah.
you're not being financed or anything. And that's the
Yeah.
reason why I named it Hosang, because what I saw was just confusion and chaos, and Hosang means movement, means current, means unity in a single direction. And I felt like that's what our people need, and more than ever right now. And they've all this the past 30 years, all these political parties, this democratic system, all they've done, this media, all this done is just create confusion and chaos. And that's why I
Uh-huh.
want Hosang to just bring order and simplicity, and everything. I'm trying to gather like the true nationalists, or especially the youth who are sick of both sides, who are sick of being lied to, who are sick of being abused, you could say, because that's what it's become. Like people literally feel like they've been abused by all these
Do you
forces and
let
all
me
these
ask
parties.
you let me ask you about that. Are you seeing that a lot of the youth, and if you want to maybe elaborate on what age range we're talking about, is really seeing that? Because, you know, here, I mean, I could say here, a lot of people are still blind to the whole Democrat Republican nonsense, right? Always picking
Yeah,
sides, kind of going along with the mainstream narrative. But again, I digress. I'm not going to get into that. But um,
it's the same over here. Yeah.
but it's really crazy that you're saying that there's, and I believe it, that the youth is actually waking up to this, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of
Yes,
amazing.
but again, people are still living in too much comfort, and that's one of our biggest problems. When people are
Yeah.
living in comfort, they don't have a reason to fight and struggle, you know. And um, a lot of them, they're thinking correctly, but they're still being passive. They're still not accepting personal responsibility. They're
Yep.
still not wanting to take action because they don't really feel a reason to, you know. And I feel like the coming economic chaos, economic collapse and energy crisis and this societal chaos that's gonna happen in the near future. I think that's gonna push a lot of people to uh, maybe take extreme measures, you know. And
Absolutely.
that's what, unfortunately, I feel like that's what it's gonna come down to.
Well, well, Hike,
Again,
it's we all have to understand that, like, whether you're on the left, the right, the up, the down, whatever the heck you want to consider yourself, we all share one thing in common, and that is finance, money. We need to make money to live, right?
mhm,
That's the system we live in. So I don't care what side you're on, what you believe in, what you don't believe in, how many things you believe in. That's the one thing you have in common with the person next to you. That's it.
mhm. Yeah,
And once we
yeah,
all start
that's the part
suffering
of
that sort
comfort
of
too, you know.
hardship, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Once everyone starts suffering that sort of hardship, maybe that's the best thing for unity. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I
I
mean
mean,
that.
we're
Look,
all
big
sitting here
changes
waiting
come.
for the same thing here too.
Yeah, big changes come during big catastrophes and stuff
Absolutely.
like
Yep.
you can't just like turn people into revolutionaries if they're living comfortably. That just doesn't
Yeah.
happen. You know, it doesn't happen. It never happened in society, in world history at all. All revolutions, all great changes have been done through chaotic times, and that's what it's
Absolutely.
facing. And that's one of the
Yeah.
reasons, you know. Again, I didn't want to get too comfortable in the diaspora. This is going back to the first question about like not everyone being able to move to Armenia because they got family, they got a house and everything. That's one of the reasons why I didn't want to buy a house in the States. I didn't want to get married in the States because I knew if I did all that, it was just gonna hold me back from
Yeah.
Yeah.
making the move that I wanted to do. So again, it all comes down to all that comfort and stuff. But and back to Hosang, it's just I wanted to make an organization that could really bring to the modern world Najda's ideas, his racialist ideas and teachings, and turn it into a real political movement because there is no there's no other organization like it. I mean, there is no other political organization that really brings these ideas to this modern age. And let someone try to prove me otherwise. I mean, I know they could give me some names I could already think of, but I could
Yeah.
easily, say that's
Yeah, I was gonna
nonsense
ask you
because
what you know. Obviously, there's gonna be backlash as far
Of
as
course.
being ultra nationalist. But I personally think Armenia has always been somewhat nationalist uh, country throughout history. You know that I mean, yeah, we've had wars, we've been conquered, but we also have some amazing kingdoms, and that's
Yes.
because of the nationalist movement, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
What would you say the general message of Hosang is that would persuade
Yes.
someone young to start thinking like, hey, maybe this is the right way. Maybe this is something I should start listening to and be part of. Um,
Well, I just feel like if we just speak the truth, if we care more about being correct instead of being more politically correct, I think people will see that and will feel that onto a deep level, and again, a lot of people, they could see all this fake patriotism these political parties have, this fake nationalism. They could see right through all that nonsense, and that's why even though all these political parties, they have all this resources, they have all this money, all this financing, they could still barely gather any people in the Republic Square, because people see right through that nonsense. And I'm just trying to create something genuine, like from the ground up, without any backing from any special interest groups. And what I'm trying to do is trying to unite people under a common idea, under a cause, not towards animosity or hatred towards like an opposition, like a lot
Yeah.
of these
Mm.
political parties do. The only reason people support Kochayan is because they hate Nikol. The only reason people support Nikol is because they hate
Bro.
Kochayan. And the only
Yeah.
people, yeah, the people who support Sasnatare are the people who hate Russia. It's all based on hatred. Like that's all these people preach. It's
Yep.
just hatred towards the
It's
opposition. They
just,
don't really have any like sense of true like vision of Armenia
yeah.
and what it's really supposed to be.
It's like a
It,
selling point. That's all.
yeah,
It's a sales pitch. That's it. That's all it's been.
it's
Yeah.
good. I mean, it works. That type of unity, it
It's
works, but it's
unfortunate.
only short term,
Yeah.
and that's what I've noticed too. A lot of our people are very primitive when it comes to politics. They only think about the moment right now. They're very short sighted. They're impatient, and they don't have any perseverance. And those are the three main things that's needed to create a strong political movement and to unite a people. But people don't have that. They're not far sighted at all. And I met a lot of people in person. Um, they're just saying that the same stuff. They just want to do something where they can see the results next week. They don't want to put in the
Yeah.
work, the effort, and then
Yeah.
reap the rewards 5, 10 years later, even 20 years later. Like what I'm doing with this, I'm being patient. Like I'm trying to set the grounds for something that's gonna last. You might not believe me, but for a century, even 1,000 years, that's the kind of mindset I'm going with. I'm not going for like I'm not doing this just for like some election or whatever. That can
Yeah.
mean nothing to me. So they don't have that type of mindset. I've noticed it's all just short term. Do this, come to power, take this guy out, come to power. It's just trivial nonsense, and that's what's leading to more and more disappointment, more hopelessness, and more chaos. And it's time to shatter all that.
Now, people who want to learn more about Hosang, where would
Yeah, they can go
they?
to the website. I have it in Armenian and in English. It's just they could read the manifesto. They could look up the Telegram. Telegram is the only place where I'm openly able to post anything I want without getting banned.
Yeah.
Because I've been banned on uh, like Facebook. Like I said, I got my YouTube channel deleted, my old one, which had like over 50,000 subscribers. But that's why I'm trying to grow my Telegram channel now. They can go to Hosang with the K and just follow that. But yeah, they can read the manifesto, see if they agree with it. They can get in touch with me, and we could discuss from there. Right now, I'm just trying to spread propaganda. By propaganda, I mean truthful
Well,
propaganda. It has
yeah,
a
there's
negative
good.
connotation to it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
in reality, there's not. Everything is propaganda if you really think about it.
Absolutely. Everything's propaganda, good and
Yeah.
bad. Yeah.
Yes, but that's why we need a right nationalist propaganda, which our people haven't had in the last 30 years. That we haven't had like a true nationalist propaganda machine to discipline the people. That's why people have been brainwashed by enemy forces. It's just
Yeah.
like if a father doesn't discipline his son is gonna get disciplined or ruined by the neighbor that's a crackhead or something. You know what
By
I mean?
by
And that,
by CRT.
yeah.
I had to
Uh,
throw that in there.
there is no freedom without discipline, and there is no like rights without duties. Those are key fundamental things I'm trying to preach, and I'm trying to
Absolutely.
get people to
Absolutely.
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah. It's a good point, man. It's a very valid point.
Those
Well,
are we have to get back to the basics pretty much and teach our people
yeah.
like
Yeah.
the very basics.
Like I said, when I read the manifesto and watched a couple of your videos, it really grabbed me because it's it's something that I've thought about a lot, and I think a lot of us think that way, but are sometimes either scared or don't want to express it.
It's not that we're scared. It's the
Oh, trust me.
it's the rhetoric that's being spread all over the world.
Yeah,
It's not just
Cancel
within
culture.
Armenia, right? It makes you second guess everything you stand firm on. Repeated propaganda.
I understand that,
Yeah,
which makes you to
doubt.
and
Absolutely.
you don't want to,
And that's the goal.
come out and say it,
Yeah.
but
You know,
like,
Yeah.
I want to ask you, you know, like I said before, unfortunately, a lot of us in the diaspora wish, at least I know for myself and Mike,
Yeah.
to
I know what you're gonna
I think
say.
for me, the dream is to eventually live in Armenia and call it home. Because I honestly, I've even said it on this podcast. This does not feel like home here. It's something's empty. Yeah, we have lives here. We have work here, careers, family, and all this stuff. But I think I've talked about this a little bit in another episode. Since I came here in '88, and I've always had this emptiness, like being here. I grew up here. I've been assimilated some sort, but again, part of me always feels like I belong there, which I know I belong there. Having said that, now you've been living there for what, about 6 years? Right?
This November will be the 6th year. Yes.
Yeah. What would your message be to people in the diaspora who are thinking of repatriating back to Armenia, or almost, are on the verge, but they have doubts? What would you recommend? What would you suggest? What would the message be from your experience?
Hi, talk me into it, bro. Talk me into it. Sell it to me, brother.
Well, look, I mean, I understand. Again, not everyone is able to make a change, a drastic change right away. I mean, like I did. Everyone's different. Everyone has different responsibilities, the different background, and everything. So, what I would suggest, if they can't make the step right away, they should do it, one step at a time. They should, maybe come buy a house, and then next time come and like remodel it, and try to, maybe they should try to find a second source of income where they could get money online, make money online, so they won't have to be dependent on living in America or anywhere else outside of Armenia. Maybe they should take certain steps like that, and hopefully get to the final goal of eventually living in Armenia, because that's one thing we have to do if we really want to stay Armenian, because assimilation is inevitable. No matter how
Yeah.
many Armenian schools we open, no matter how much we teach our kids Armenian, we're all going to get assimilated in the diaspora, because we're a nation that's binded to our soil, our land. So we can never escape that. And our blood and our soil is intertwined together. And that's one thing we have to really understand. And it's normal. Assimilation
Yeah.
is normal. I mean, if it's normal for someone to want to be a part of the country they live in, that's completely natural. So we shouldn't. That's not anything negative. It's just we have to make a decision if we want to live in. If we want to be Armenian, continue on the heritage, our bloodline, then we have to go back to where our forefathers lived, and as simple as that. But aside from all this, what the message I want to say is probably the most simplest message, but it's probably one of the most profound message, and I think it's true for many areas in life. That if we really wanted to move back, there's nothing that could stop us.
Yep.
If it was more, if it wasn't just like a vague ambition, if we were absolutely determined to move to Armenia and make it the Armenia that we dream of, then there's absolutely nothing that could stop us. That's the most important thing that we have to understand, and it's really as simple
No,
as
it's the
that.
truth. Yeah, it is.
Well said.
It
Well
is.
said. Yeah, that's true. That's very true. We have one last question to ask you, and we ask this to all of our guests, but I want to let our audience know if you guys have any questions, ask now, and we will read it to Hike. So, you want to take it away?
Sure. So the question is, on a lighter note, if you had a time machine, right? Which timeline in Armenian history would you want to go back to and experience, and why?
Oh wow, that's a tough question. There's
No,
so
you
many
can't,
things
and
that
you
can
can't,
look
and you can't phone or text Hayk Nazaryan.
at.
No, you can't do that.
I think I can handle this one on my own. I think I'll save the phone a friend for harder questions. But
Right.
One of these days I'll bring it up.
yeah, well, again, I could say a lot of things, but I can't say no to going and being next to Najda's side during the times where he was fighting against the Bolshevik and Red
That's a
Army and the
first.
Turkish armies.
That's a
Yeah, because
first.
all this time that
Wow.
we're like constantly quoting Najda, we're talking about him, and it's interesting that there's not even one single voice recording or video recording of the man. Like we don't even know what he sounded like or uh, anything in that matter. So to be able to go and be next to him and participate in those types of battles and be by his side, and also be by his side in the political journey, whether it was in America or Europe, will be something that will be absolutely incredible. And yeah, to go and be next to the legend himself, someone that I've admired since I was a little boy, that'll be truly, yeah, that'll be a dream come true.
Wow. That's a great answer. We
Yeah,
haven't had
man. Yeah,
anybody
we
say
haven't
that.
heard that.
Yeah. More like
Yeah, I mean,
recent
he was the
20th
Thank
prophet
century, you
of
know.
the modern era for Armenians. He basically saw what was our problem and what the solution is. That's why we don't need to reinvent the wheel. He basically created an ideology for us. He set it in stone with his friend the Hayk Nazaryan. So it's our duty, it's our obligation to get those ideas and turn it into a fighting movement, and
Yeah.
that's our
Yeah.
duty for sure.
Well, we can tell you we are putting together an amazing episode about
Yeah.
Nujde.
Yeah.
We're taking our time with it,
When
and
does that due?
probably in about a month or
Yeah.
so we'll have it up,
Yeah.
and it's something Mike and I both want to pay
Yeah.
homage to him, and
In more ways than one.
yeah, and
Wink, wink.
yeah. So hopefully you'll like that one. It's
Yeah.
going to be very detailed, episode.
Yes.
Probably even two parts. You never know. We're still working on
Yeah.
the script
Yeah, we are.
and the text and all the information that we've been gathering. Um, let's see, audience member, what questions do we have? Nar wants to know why you're not married yet.
Yeah, that's a good one. Well, when I first came to Armenia, I didn't want to get into a serious relationship with any woman because um, I
Yeah,
didn't want them
things.
to think that I'm some, repat that's gonna get sick of Armenia in a few years and want to move back, and I didn't want anyone to get with me for the wrong reasons, and that's one of the reasons why I decided to, stay here for at least a couple of years before I have that intention to marry, because
Yeah.
I don't want someone to marry me just so they could go to America or anywhere else because
Get
unfortunately,
citizenship and yeah, all
yeah,
that
other
stuff.
people
Yeah.
think that way, and I didn't want to deal with any of that. But I'm also, I'm a late bloomer. I age like fine wine, so but I'm gonna get married.
It's awesome. High five, brother. High five. I'm there with you. Not this guy.
Yeah,
Not this guy.
What is that
yeah,
supposed to
well,
mean? Just because I shaved my head? Come on.
That's why. I'm trying to grow mine out
yeah.
again.
I
Oh,
wish
hey,
I looked
man.
good bald, man. Unfortunately,
Yeah, I
I
got a
can't.
round head.
I
I
can't
get
pull it off.
compliments. I just got tired of like fixing my hair, so Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Easier.
Naturally, so it's good. But yeah, it's gonna happen. Yeah, one day for sure. It's just was one of the
Last
things you
thoughts,
can't really
brother.
say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ike, I want to thank you for joining us today. That was very interesting. Like I said, I hope people um, appreciate your story and get motivated by your story to take
Yeah.
that leap because I personally think it's very important. I think all of us need to do this somehow, figure this out, and take the strength, that leap that our parents took in the
To
late
come, to
80s
come
and
here.
came here. I think a lot of us are even in a more comfortable situation. It will be easier, but a lot of us have this. We're waiting for them, whoever them is, to make everything good before we
Yeah, no.
come on a white horse, and
No.
which I think is the wrong way to think. So,
Yeah.
any last words before we let you go? Anything you
No, I
want to
just want to
mention?
add to what you just said. Yeah, we shouldn't depend on others to help us. Salvation and hope is only from within. If we don't help ourselves, no one's going to be able to help us. That's true
No.
Yeah.
for individually and as a nation and as a people as a whole. So
Besides that, Hike, again, thank you so much for waking up early, joining us. I hope you enjoyed this conversation.
anytime, yeah, bro, I could go all day. I could go all day with
Yeah,
this.
maybe
Hey man,
we'll
maybe
work on a
one
part two.
either that or why don't you just get up and go over there, man? Have a few beers with
Any,
the man.
anytime, yeah, man.
How
With
about
pleasure.
that, bro? Like just take the show on the road and go talk over there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be
Well,
a
Maybe
pleasure.
we don't. Maybe we
Just
don't
tell
come
me
down.
when.
well, if we have enough patrons, maybe we can. So there
Yeah.
you go. But
Well,
again, well, wishing you a great day, a rest of your day,
thank you.
and we'll talk to you offline.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for inviting me. Have a good night, brother.
Thanks,
Thank
brother.
you. All right. Okay. Well, that was Hayk Nazaryan. Great
It's good.
guy.
Great story for
Yeah,
people to
great
hear, man.
story. I
Yeah,
hope everybody
inspiring. Seriously.
enjoyed this. Call it a discussion interview. But, for a young man at his age, he's
First,
done amazing stuff.
yeah, it's
So
a good first-hand account.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
with multiple fronts. I think it was very important for people to hear.
Yeah. Well, before we go, I want to mention our next week's. Oh, something I want to say. I know a lot of people have been telling us about, when you guys going to start doing the mano a mano,
Oh yeah,
the reads and
the
stuff.
history.
So we have a lot of content that's been put together. We're actually going to
It's
dive into
still
the
being put together.
Bagratuni era. We're going to cover all the kings and a few queens. So all that stuff is being prepared, and we'll probably start in 2 weeks. Then
In
2 weeks after
what,
next
2 weeks?
episode. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
So
in 2 weeks we'll be back to. Well, I mean, the maps were history.
yeah, yeah.
We've
Well,
been
no, I
pretty
know,
chill with
but
history.
people miss it. So
Yes,
we
they do.
will be. So next episode we will have Jivan Avatisian, who is the
Mhm.
producer of Gates to Heaven. He'll be on the show, and the reason he's going to be on the show is because his movie's going to be premiering here, and it's a movie we want everybody to see. He has other movies that he's done, which are all stories told about the war in Artsakh. Shot amazingly.
Yeah.
Some of them are still, well, they are on Amazon, but this one, which is Gates to Heaven, is going to be premiering here for the first time. I mean, you can't see it anywhere right
I
now.
think he's
but
got.
yeah.
Doesn't he have a few paid movies on? I think they're like
Amazon.
free.
Yeah, Amazon.
And
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
think on
It's
Vimeo too. If anyone uses Vimeo.
no. Vimeo. It's Amazon. So he'll be with us next Thursday live, our regular time 7:30, because he'll be here in the
He'll be in
studio.
studio. Yeah. From Armenia.
Yeah, and then the week after that, we'll be back with our first episode, which, as far as talking about the Bagratuni era, and we'll be covering Sambat, who's the son of Arshad
Sambat
Bagratuni.
Bagratuni.
Yeah, we're talking about his life.
We touched on him in season, I believe, briefly. I think.
Yeah,
season one.
we've touched it.
We
Well,
briefly
even,
touched on it.
yeah,
and that's
even
it.
this season, a few
Yeah.
places, but yeah, that's what's gonna happen. And then we'll announce the rest of the guests we have. We have other guests coming up, but like I said, there are some episodes that our guests aren't typically history related, but again, because of what's happening, we feel that there are certain people we need their message to be told and heard, and we're going to use our platform to do that. Besides that, follow us on Instagram, Patreon. You see that little message right there? Become a Patreon. We got a new Patreon today.
Did we?
From Norway, I believe.
Ding ding ding
Yeah,
ding.
it was NOK. I think it's Norway, right? The currency, Norwegian, NOK.
I don't know. I'd have to look
Yeah.
into it.
So I looked at it. I think it was Norway. So,
Yeah.
follow us or become a Patreon and help the show. YouTube, subscribe, hit that like button, please. That helps with the algorithm. And share it with your friends and family. We want to hit that 1,000 mark. By the way, guys, the reason why we keep measuring that after the 1,000 mark, the entire algorithm of YouTube changes, and after that, it's easier to.
This is a real thing.
This is a real thing.
It's a real thing.
It's easier to be discovered and other, when we put those tags and all that stuff, it helps a lot. So that's why we want to get to that 1,000 mark. So please share it with your friends and family. Tell them to just come and subscribe and hit that notification bell. What else? Anything else we mentioned?
No, that's it.
Yeah. Go.
New artwork. Artwork.
Yeah, that we're Mike is working on new artwork. For the current artwork, go to Herosner.com and order your sculpture, t-shirt, mug. We have the Vartan Mamikonyan canvas, guys. Have you seen those? Those are amazing. Those are made to order. So if you want to have that amazing realistic image of him that Mike did, which is just unbelievable. I have one at home. You have one at home.
I have one at home.
And he will personally sign it. He will personally. I sold it to you.
Sold it to me.
Yeah, he'll.
I made it. You sold it to me.
Yeah, there you go. $1,000. Yeah, but he'll sign it. You'll have his signature. It's something to have. So please go support Herosner, Mike. Just help a brother out.
I mean, you're not supporting me.
Yeah,
you're supporting what we're doing.
No,
guys.
yeah,
that's the bottom line. I mean, seriously, not going in our pockets.
Yep, that is true.
It really isn't.
So, having said that, anything else you want to mention before we call it a night?
No.
All right. Okay, everyone.
Tomorrow's Friday. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to everyone. Again, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it on a late hour on this Thursday night.
Thanks for sticking with us, guys.
As we always say, respect one another, love one another, and till the next episode, take care.